No, never. Never, 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 never. Oh, did I say never? Never take an unpaid internship. All jokes aside, welcome to my channel. My name is Toch. So on this channel, I make content about the tech industry, mainly through video reviews of different packages, libraries, frameworks, and services in the JavaScript ecosystem. But I also want to make more general, tips and tricks style videos, which this is the first of. And so for these general tips and tricks style videos, I'm just going to pick a topic which I happen to have some experience, some personal experience with, and I'll just, give my general advice and my general opinion on that topic. So today's topic is very interesting, and it's particularly relevant for college students, mainly lower classmen, freshmen and sophomores. But at the same time, it could also be relevant for juniors and seniors, depending on, each person's unique situation. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about unpaid internships. I'm going to be giving my 2 cents on it, as well as offering you an alternative to accepting unpaid internships. So personally speaking, I have never done an unpaid internship, nor will I ever do one, nor do I think I can ever recommend that somebody do one. Although there are some caveats to it, but we'll get into that later in the video. But what I think is a much better alternative to doing an unpaid internship is trying your hand in the industry of freelancing. So before I go any further, I just want to point out a significant bias that I have as far as this topic is concerned. And it mainly comes from my major as well as the field that I want to get into. So I'm a computer science student. And so because of that, there typically is a much larger freelance market for fields like computer science, info science, and even a couple other fields. So I would say that this video is most relevant to you if you happen to be interested in a field that has a sizable freelance market. So to figure that out, you can easily just go to some of the more popular freelancing platforms like Upwork and Freelancer, which I'll talk a bit about later in this video, and just search up whatever skill sets that you have or that you're interested in building and just see how many hits come back to know whether or not there's a sizable freelancing market for your field. An example of some fields that won't necessarily have a large freelancing market would be fields like pre-med or law, or to a certain extent even business, right? Because some of these fields require you to have deep certifications before you can begin practicing them at a beginner level at least. Long story short, this video is really only relevant or beneficial to you if you happen to be in or interested in a field that has a sizable freelance market. So next, let me just share a bit about my background and my experience with these topics. So far to date, I've done 2 different internships for 2 different companies. The first was a data analytics company, and I did this internship it was the fall of 2019 through the spring of 2020. And then my second and most recent internship was, the summer of 2020, and I did that at Microsoft. Along with that, I have a sizable history with freelancing. Most of the freelancing I've done has been through the platform Upwork. I've done, I think at this point, about either 10 or 11 jobs on there. So first off, let's talk about a few myths that students use to convince themselves that, taking an unpaid internships is a good idea. And again, I just want to point out that this is based on my opinion and my experience. It doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, but from what I've experienced so far, unpaid internships 95% of the time aren't the best way to go. But then there is that 5% of the time where it might be the best idea for you, and I'll talk about that as well in this video. So the first myth is I don't have much marketable skills, and an unpaid internship would be a great way for me to learn these skills that I require. And that's a myth. So to me, that statement doesn't hold much, if any, validity at all, because the world we live in today, everything is online, right? There's so much that you can learn on the internet, whether it's just through YouTube, you're watching videos to help you learn those skills for absolutely free, or what I've done in the past is, you buy courses on Udemy. You make sure you buy them when they're cheap, if you know when to buy them. You buy courses on Udemy, and then you go through them and you learn those skills. And that's pretty much how I've learned the most valuable skills that have helped me, succeed in my freelancing career, that have helped me succeed in the internships I have done, is just through self-learning, online learning. So that's myth number one. You certainly don't need a company who's not even willing to compensate you for your time in order to learn skills that are valuable. Myth number two. So this one is thinking that, you know, having the name of that company attached to your resume and the work that you did for them on your resume as well is more valuable than, say, projects that you do on your own, side projects, independent projects, and stuff like that. And that's absolutely not true. So if anything, I think that personal projects are a lot more impressive on a resume than, you know, some set of tasks that you did for some, you know, company that isn't paying you to do those things. And for a couple reasons. First of all, because one, it really shows that you have a passion for whatever it is you're doing, right? If you're willing to be a self-starter and do that thing on your own without direct guidance from other people, it shows that you have a passion for that field that you want to go into. And also, you know, because it's a personal project and you're the one guiding it, you have the freedom to be as creative and as innovative as you want. And 9 times out of 10, you do much better, right? The things that you produce are much better when they come out of your own personal interests, right? And out of, you know, the things that you think are cool, awesome, the whole 9 yards. So that's myth number two. Having that company that isn't paying you's name on your resume is certainly not more valuable, and it doesn't hold more weight than a project that you do on your own. For example, the most valuable project on my resume and the one that I feel has opened the most doors for me in terms of like interviews and internship opportunities is a side project that I did with a friend of mine completely on our own. So now let's talk about that 5%, which are exceptions to everything that I've said so far. Well, potential exceptions to everything that I've said so far. So first off is if the company is a really, really big company, and I'm talking like, you know, some of the really big names like a Google or a Microsoft or a Facebook or Amazon, you get the idea, right? And this is very unlikely because most very big companies tend not to offer unpaid internships. Companies that are that big, they value the candidates and they want to get the best of the best. So 9 times out of 10, the internships they offer are paid internships. However, some of these companies can offer programs that are similar to internships, but aren't actual internships. Like for example, one program that I've done in the past is Google's SPS, Software Product Sprint. It's more like a training program where, you know, you join the program and you get to interact with a bunch of Google engineers and they kind of teach you some of the basics of building applications. I think they had us build like a portfolio application as well as like a final team application. When I did mine in the spring of 2020. So now, even though that wasn't an internship and they specifically told us that this SPS thing was not an internship, it still was an unpaid experience. But because it was an experience at a company that's as big as Google, right, I still think in that case doing something like that can be very valuable to you. So exception number 2 is if there is a very, very strong possibility that you can make personal connections while doing the unpaid internships that can further lead to paid internships, right? And this is different than just, you know, saying that you're building experience, because we're talking about connections with people, which is a really, really big thing when it comes to, you know, getting internships and also job opportunities and stuff like that. Is if you feel there is a really high chance that you can make some personal connections with people that can open doors to you in the future, then that can be an exception where you can go ahead and accept that unpaid internship. So exception number 3 is if it's a company that you really, really believe in whatever it is they're doing, or if it's like a volunteer or charity opportunity and you're doing it for that reason, then obviously you can go ahead and accept the unpaid internship. So exception number 4, and this is if your goal is to get experience working in the corporate realm, like let's say you want to get experience on what it's like to interact with a manager or to interact with coworkers or, you know, the HR department, stuff like that. If your goal is to get experiences that are specifically tied to the corporate America, then that's obviously not something that you can get from just doing a personal project by yourself, in which case you can go ahead and accept the unpaid internship to get that experience. So really quickly, I just want to point out that a couple of these exceptions I didn't come up with myself. I had to elicit the opinions of some people in some of my online social circles, and you know who you are. Thank you for the help. So lastly, I just want to talk about how you can get started with freelancing, even with little or no experience, as well as what some of the benefits of doing that are. So the first step that I took back when I was getting started was, first, obviously, you have to have the skills if you don't already have them. So you need to go ahead and do whatever independent learning that you need to. Again, some of the things that have been most helpful to me in the past were YouTube, as well as Udemy. So next is you want to make an account or a profile on some of these popular freelancing platforms. And the reason for this is because they basically make it easy for you to get clients. So the one that I've had the most success with, and actually the only one that I really use, is Upwork. And that's one that I can highly recommend. So once you make your account and you set up your profile and do all that, the next step you need to do is you need to set an hourly rate for yourself, right? And so depending on how confident you are, you can go higher. But what I would recommend for somebody who's just, starting out, and somebody who is using this as an alternative to, an unpaid internship, or to their first internship, would be anywhere between $12 to $15 an hour. So the reason for doing this is that when you first make your profile on these platforms, and I'm talking specifically of Upwork right now, is that your profile is probably going to be barren. So you don't have as much to guarantee or leverage with clients to guarantee that you can successfully complete their projects. So setting your hourly rates low to begin with is a great way to score some lowball projects. And once you start completing projects successfully, maybe one, maybe two, or even three, then you can start increasing your hourly rate. And one of the beauties of freelancing is that there isn't ever a limit to how much you can set your hourly rate to, but you obviously want to make sure that you're setting it to something that's reasonable and something that makes sense for the type of jobs that you're applying to. So another thing is that you want to make sure that you're applying for jobs that you're absolutely certain that you can do. Like, you need to be certain that you can complete this project before you apply for it. And it's probably in your best interest to apply for smaller projects. You don't want to start taking on, projects that could be a month, 2 or 3 or even 6 months long. You don't want to do that as a beginner. You want to take projects that you think maybe you can complete in a week or 2, and get it done and over with and get your feedback, and so that you can start building your profile. So now time for some of the benefits of freelancing. So the first one is, assuming that you use a platform like Upwork or freelancer.com, is that it's easy to get started. You just make a profile on there. You make sure you fill it out with whatever it is you can, what skills you have, etc., etc. And then, you just start applying for jobs, and, you just throw stuff at the wall, and, you hope something sticks. So the second benefit is that it's very flexible. You pretty much get to work whenever you want. It's not like an internship or a job where you're working, 9 to 5 or a fixed amount of hours. You can work, at 12 p.m. if you want to, 2 a.m. if you want to. You can work whenever. And one thing that I found really helpful is that it becomes very helpful during the semester, because you can work around your classes and everything basically fits your schedule. So that's pretty nice. So the third benefit is basically it adds way more value to your resume than an unpaid internship, because then you're able to show that the skill sets that you have are valuable enough that you've gotten people to pay you for those skills. So in that regard, it's much more valuable on your resume than an unpaid intern. And last but certainly not least, maybe even the most important one, is that you get paid, right? And for some people it might be more, some people it might be less, but it's better than nothing, right? So yeah, you get to make some money. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Obviously, most of this is just my opinion, and it comes from my personal experience. It certainly doesn't apply to everybody. Everybody has their own unique situations, so take everything I've said so far with a grain of salt. So I make a lot, like I said in the beginning, I make videos on code reviews of different libraries, platforms, services, packages in the JavaScript ecosystem. And I also intend to make more videos like these. So if that's something that's interesting to you, hit that subscribe button. And also, let me know what you think about this topic. Obviously, it's something that is relevant to a lot of people, and many people would have different opinions on this. So yeah, feel free in the comment sections to let me know what you think. But until then, I will see you next time. Have a good one.